Have you ever looked at the last digit of your birth year and wondered what it means? It's a small detail, but it holds the key to your soul's purpose. It might seem like just a trivial fact, nothing more than a fleeting number in a calendar, a detail we often overlook in the grand scheme of life. But what if I told you that the last digit of your birth year holds a deeper, profound significance? What if this small number could reveal insights into the very essence of your being, guiding you on a path towards spiritual awakening, healing, and understanding your soul's true purpose? Many people go through life without ever contemplating the hidden power of numbers. We focus on larger milestones, our age, the year we were born, and the events that shape us. But what if the key to unlocking your deepest potential lies in something as simple as the final digit of the year you entered this world? You may not have noticed it before, but after this chapter, you might begin to see that number in a new light. This isn't just about numerology in the traditional sense, this is about something deeper. It's about a universal language, a connection to something larger than ourselves. Have you ever felt that there's more to life than what meets the eye, that maybe there's a reason you're drawn to certain things, certain paths, certain people? If so, this chapter is your invitation to begin a journey of discovery, a journey that starts with the most subtle yet profound of clues, the last digit of your birth year. Let's take a moment to reflect on your birth year. What's the last digit? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, or something else? The simple act of acknowledging this number can bring a sense of awareness to your spiritual journey that you might not have realized before. But there's more to it than just the number itself. There's an energy that comes with it, an archetype that helps shape who you are at the deepest level. You see, every number carries a vibration. Just as each letter in the alphabet has a distinct sound and resonance, each number has a unique frequency that interacts with the universe in specific ways. By understanding this frequency, you can begin to understand yourself in a much deeper, more spiritual way. Imagine for a moment that the number you were born with is not just a random event, but a signpost. A map to guide you through the challenges, joys, and lessons that you were destined to experience. Have you ever had a sense that your life is following a pattern, or that certain experiences repeat themselves over and over? The last digit of your birth year might help explain why this is happening. If this resonates with you, take a deep breath and allow yourself to open up to the possibility that the universe has been trying to communicate with you all along. Sometimes, we don't see the signs because we're too busy or too focused on the external world. But now is the time to turn inward and begin to listen. So, how does this tie into healing? Well, think about where you are on your journey right now. Are you feeling lost? Stuck? Or perhaps you're searching for a deeper meaning in life, trying to figure out why certain things seem to happen over and over again. The first step toward healing begins with understanding yourself. And understanding the last digit of your birth year is a beautiful first step in that process. As I reflect on my own journey, I realize that many of the patterns I encountered were connected to my birth number. There were times when I resisted the lessons that were trying to unfold before me, believing that I had to force things to happen. But once I surrendered and embraced the energy of the number that had been with me all along, everything started to fall into place. It wasn't about changing who I was or trying to become something I wasn't, it was about accepting the essence of who I am. And when I did that, everything shifted. Have you ever experienced that moment of surrender? That moment when you finally accept yourself as you are, flaws and all, and realize that the universe doesn't want you to be anything other than what you are meant to be. So, what does this have to do with you and your healing process? Everything. The last digit of your birth year is a gateway to understanding your soul's purpose. It's like a key that unlocks a door to your highest potential. When you start to understand this key, you begin to see patterns in your life that you never noticed before, patterns that were always meant to guide you, but that you may have missed because you weren't tuned in. You might be asking yourself, how can this number really make that much of a difference in my life? Let me tell you, it can. In ways you can't even imagine yet. When you align yourself with the natural energy of your birth number, you align with your truest self. And when you do that, you begin to feel a sense of flow, peace, and purpose that you may not have experienced before. I know it may sound a bit abstract, but bear with me. Take a moment now to reflect on the last digit of your birth year. As you do, try to connect with the energy of that number. Does it resonate with you? Do you feel drawn to certain aspects of it? Perhaps there are qualities of that number that speak to you: strength, creativity, intuition, stability, or something else entirely. If this feels like the beginning of something new for you, that's because it is. Your spiritual journey begins with small steps. And this is your first step toward deeper understanding and healing. The lesson of this moment is simple: you are more than just a collection of random events or coincidences. You are connected to something greater than yourself, a universal energy that speaks to you through signs, symbols, and numbers. The last digit of your birth year is a small but powerful symbol that is waiting for you to discover its meaning. So, take a moment to reflect. What is the last digit of your birth year? What does it mean to you? How does it make you feel? As you embark on this journey of self-discovery, allow yourself to explore the hidden meanings in your life, starting with the simplest details. As you continue to read this book, keep the last digit of your birth year in mind. It will become a touchstone for your spiritual journey, guiding you toward greater self-awareness and alignment with your soul's true purpose. But don't just take my word for it. Start experimenting with this knowledge. Begin to observe how the energy of your birth number shows up in your life. How does it influence your decisions? How does it impact your relationships? What lessons does it bring you? And if you feel called to do so, leave a comment or share your thoughts. Perhaps you'll find that you're not alone in your discoveries, and together, we can create a community of people who are waking up to their truest selves. Have you ever experienced a moment in life where everything fell apart, and you wondered, why is this happening to me? It's a familiar feeling, isn't it? That overwhelming sense that the universe has conspired to test you in ways you never saw coming. A moment when it feels like everything you've worked so hard for, your plans, your security, your sense of identity, crumbles beneath you. You're left standing, unsure of what to do next. It's painful. It's confusing. And it's often so raw that you can't help but wonder, why me? If you've ever found yourself in this place of uncertainty, then you are not alone. Many of us go through crises that shake us to the core. But what if I told you that these very moments, these deep challenges, could be the most powerful catalysts for your spiritual growth? What if these painful experiences are not just accidents but profound invitations to awaken, heal, and transform? When I look back at the most challenging moments of my life, I realize something I didn't understand at the time: those crises weren't punishments. They were turning points, powerful, sacred moments that, although difficult, were shaping me for something greater. And trust me, I understand the desire to avoid those moments, to escape the pain, or to wish that things could be different. But now, after years of introspection, I see them as the gifts they truly were. These experiences were my invitation to heal and awaken. A few years ago, I found myself in a place of complete despair. It felt like my world had come to a crashing halt. I had a career that seemed to define me, a lifestyle that appeared to be everything I wanted, yet deep inside, I felt empty, disconnected. Nothing in my life seemed to align with the person I truly was. My identity, built on external achievements and validation, was crumbling. I found myself questioning everything: my choices, my relationships, my purpose. For the first time in years, I felt completely lost. I couldn't find any meaning in the things I had once valued. I remember feeling so alone, thinking that no one could understand the depth of my pain. It was during this crisis that I began to understand how much of my life had been driven by external expectations, rather than an authentic connection to my soul's true purpose. It was as if the universe was telling me to stop and listen, to slow down and confront the parts of myself I had been avoiding. In that moment, it was clear that the life I had been living wasn't sustainable. Something had to change, but I didn't know how. I was standing at the edge of an unknown abyss, with no clear path forward. Have you ever been there? That place where you feel like the rug has been pulled out from under you, and everything you once knew to be true no longer makes sense. If you have, then you know just how isolating and disorienting it can be. Looking back, I can now see that my crisis was the beginning of my spiritual awakening. It was through the pain, through the uncertainty, that I was given the opportunity to heal. You see, true healing doesn't come from avoiding the tough stuff, it comes from facing it head-on. And sometimes, the universe will create a crisis just to get you to pay attention to what truly matters. The more I resisted the pain, the longer it took to heal. But when I finally surrendered to the experience, something shifted inside me. In the midst of my crisis, I had no idea what the future would hold. But I realized that my struggle had a deeper purpose. It was teaching me to let go of attachments to things, to identities, and to outcomes. It was teaching me to trust in the flow of life, even when I couldn't see where it was taking me. This is the lesson I want to share with you: your crisis is not something to fear. It is an invitation to heal, to transform, and to reconnect with your authentic self. Every challenge you face holds a message, a gift that can lead you to a more aligned and awakened version of yourself. The universe is not punishing you, it is offering you the opportunity to awaken. You may not understand it right now, and that's okay. It's natural to question why things are happening, to wonder what it all means. But I promise you, if you can embrace the struggle, you will come out on the other side stronger, wiser, and more connected to your soul's purpose. Crisis, though painful, is often the key that unlocks the door to self-awareness and spiritual growth. When everything you once held as truth is turned upside down, you are forced to question your values, beliefs, and life choices. This process, though uncomfortable, is exactly what we need to break free from the confines of the ego and reconnect with the deeper part of ourselves. In my experience, spiritual awakening doesn't always come as a peaceful, serene experience. Sometimes, it arrives like a storm, uprooting everything in its path. But it's through this storm that we begin to see the truth. We begin to question who we are, why we're here, and what we truly want out of life. We start to ask the hard questions: am I living authentically? Am I aligned with my soul's purpose? I know it's not easy to look at your life and acknowledge the places where you feel lost, stuck, or disconnected. But I urge you to do so. Ask yourself, where in my life am I avoiding change? Where am I resisting the lessons that are trying to unfold? Recognize that every crisis is a divine opportunity to step closer to your truth, no matter how painful it may seem at first. One of the most profound lessons I learned through my crisis was the power of surrender. This doesn't mean giving up, it means letting go of control. It means accepting that life is constantly shifting and that we don't always have to have the answers. In fact, trying to control every aspect of our lives can actually block the flow of healing and growth. Surrendering allowed me to release my grip on what I thought life was supposed to look like. I began to trust in the process, knowing that each step forward, no matter how small, was part of the journey. This trust, this surrender, was where true healing began. It was the moment I stopped resisting and started to flow with life's rhythms. If you're facing a crisis in your own life right now, I encourage you to embrace the power of surrender. Let go of the need to control every outcome, and instead, allow yourself to feel what you need to feel. Trust that, even in the darkest moments, something beautiful is unfolding for you. The lesson of this chapter is simple: your crisis is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of a new chapter. It is a sacred invitation to heal, awaken, and step into the fullness of who you are meant to be. The struggle you face today is not a punishment, it's an opportunity to break free from the old and create something new. So, I ask you, what would happen if you embraced your crisis as a gift, rather than a curse? What if you saw it as a door leading you to a deeper understanding of yourself? The journey of healing begins with this shift in perspective. It's time to stop resisting and start embracing the transformative power of your challenges. If this chapter resonates with you, I invite you to reflect on the crises in your life. Where have you felt challenged? Where have you struggled? And what lessons have these experiences taught you? Take a moment to journal or meditate on these questions. Allow yourself to explore the deeper meaning behind your struggles, and open yourself up to the possibility that they were meant to guide you towards something greater. Have you ever felt like you were searching for something outside of yourself, only to realize that the answers you were seeking were already within you? There's a common belief in our society that we need to look outward for answers. We're told that success, happiness, and peace come from external sources: money, relationships, career accomplishments, or validation from others. It's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of these things, believing they will bring us fulfillment and healing. But what if I told you that everything you need to heal and transform is already inside you? What if the answers to your deepest questions, the solutions to your struggles, are not out there somewhere, but within your very being? When I first began my own journey of healing, I found myself searching for answers everywhere. I sought guidance from books, seminars, and even people who seemed to have all the answers. I thought that if I could just learn enough, follow the right steps, or discover the perfect solution, I would find peace and purpose. But it wasn't until I stopped searching externally that I discovered a profound truth: everything I needed was already within me. It sounds simple, but it's a truth that many of us overlook. Our culture often teaches us to rely on external factors for healing, to fix our problems by changing our circumstances. Yet true healing comes from aligning with the wisdom, strength, and love that already resides within our hearts. My awakening to the power within me came during a particularly difficult time. After years of searching for answers in all the wrong places, I found myself at a crossroads, feeling more disconnected and lost than ever before. I was tired, frustrated, and overwhelmed. Despite everything I had tried, I didn't feel any closer to the peace and fulfillment I was longing for. That's when I had an epiphany. I remember sitting in silence one evening, overwhelmed by the weight of my thoughts and emotions, when a question bubbled up from deep inside: what if the healing I'm seeking isn't out there somewhere? What if it's already inside me? It was a simple thought, but it carried profound weight. I realized that all of my searching, all of my striving, had been based on the assumption that I needed something external to fix me, to make me whole. But in that moment, I understood that I was already whole. My true power, my true healing, was not dependent on anything outside myself. It was a matter of rediscovering the strength and wisdom I already possessed. Have you ever experienced a moment when everything clicked into place, when you realized that the thing you were searching for had been with you all along? If so, you know how powerful that moment can be. It's like a light turning on inside you, illuminating the path forward. When we talk about healing, we often think of it in terms of fixing something that's broken, either physically, emotionally, or spiritually. But true healing isn't about fixing something that's wrong. It's about remembering who you truly are beneath the layers of conditioning, fear, and self-doubt. It's about reconnecting with your inner wisdom and allowing that wisdom to guide you toward wholeness. You may have heard the term, healing from the inside out, but have you ever stopped to really consider what that means? It means that the real work begins within you. It's not about changing your external circumstances first, it's about changing your internal state of being. When you shift the way you perceive yourself and the world, your outer reality will begin to shift in response. I had spent so much time trying to change my circumstances, trying to fix my relationships, my career, and my environment, when what I needed most was to change the way I viewed myself. Healing begins when you recognize that you are already whole, and that all of the answers you need are available to you through your inner guidance. The journey of healing starts with stillness. In a world that's constantly moving, constantly pushing us to do more, achieve more, and be more, it's easy to overlook the power of silence and introspection. But it is in these moments of quiet that we can truly connect with our inner selves. Have you ever sat in silence and just listened to your thoughts, your feelings, or even your body? It can be uncomfortable at first, especially if you're not used to being still. But when you give yourself permission to simply be, without the pressure to act or accomplish anything, you start to tap into a deeper level of awareness. This is where the healing process truly begins. When you connect with your inner wisdom, you begin to understand the patterns that have been influencing your life. You start to recognize the beliefs and fears that have been holding you back, and you begin to let go of them. Healing isn't about forcing something to happen, it's about allowing it to unfold naturally, in its own time. One of the most powerful tools I used on my healing journey was meditation. I started with just a few minutes each day, sitting quietly and focusing on my breath. In the stillness, I began to hear the subtle messages of my soul. These messages weren't loud or dramatic, they were quiet whispers, guiding me to make changes from within. It wasn't always easy to listen at first, but with practice, I learned to trust these inner nudges. And as I did, I began to heal in ways I never thought possible. At the core of the healing process is self-love. This might sound like a cliché, but it's the truth. Healing is impossible without self-love, because it is only through self-love that we can accept ourselves fully, with all our imperfections and flaws. I had spent so much of my life criticizing myself, pushing myself to be more, to do more, to be perfect. But in the process, I was denying myself the love and compassion I needed to heal. It wasn't until I learned to accept myself as I was, in all my messiness and imperfections, that true healing began. Self-love isn't about vanity or narcissism. It's about accepting yourself with kindness, honoring your feelings, and treating yourself with the same compassion that you would extend to a dear friend. It's about letting go of the harsh inner critic and embracing the loving, nurturing energy that resides within you. I encourage you to start practicing self-love today. Take a moment to look at yourself in the mirror and say something kind. Remind yourself that you are worthy of love, healing, and peace. When you start to love yourself, you begin to unlock your true potential, and your inner wisdom becomes clearer. The lesson of this chapter is clear: healing begins from within. You don't need to search for answers outside yourself because everything you need is already inside of you. The key to healing is connecting with your inner wisdom, practicing self-love, and trusting that the process will unfold in its own time. So, take a moment to reflect. What would happen if you stopped searching for external solutions and turned inward? What if you gave yourself permission to simply be, without judgment, and allowed your inner wisdom to guide you? The journey of healing is not about fixing something that's broken, it's about rediscovering the truth of who you are. And once you connect with that truth, healing becomes natural. If this message resonates with you, I encourage you to take a few moments today to sit in stillness. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and simply listen. What do you hear? What is your inner wisdom telling you? Write down any insights that come to mind and reflect on them. Allow yourself to trust that the answers you seek are already within you. And as you move forward, remember this: you are already whole. Healing doesn't mean fixing what's broken, it means remembering who you truly are. Have you ever held on to something so tightly, whether it was a belief, a relationship, or a dream, that deep down, you knew it wasn't serving you anymore, but you were afraid to let it go? We've all been there. We hold on to things because they feel familiar, because they give us a sense of security, or because we're afraid of what might happen if we let go. Whether it's a limiting belief, an old relationship, or a career path that no longer aligns with our values, there's a powerful force that keeps us clinging to things that are no longer meant for us. But what if I told you that your true healing lies not in holding on, but in letting go? Letting go is one of the most difficult, yet most transformative acts you can do on your healing journey. And it's not just about releasing external things, it's about releasing the inner baggage, the mental and emotional patterns that no longer serve your highest good. The things you've been carrying, often unknowingly, that have weighed you down for far too long. When I look back at my own journey, one of the most significant turning points was when I finally let go of beliefs that had been limiting my growth. I had held on to them for years, believing they were a part of who I was. But once I began to question them, I realized they weren't serving me, they were keeping me stuck. I remember a time when I held on to a belief that I wasn't worthy of success unless I worked harder than everyone else. This belief drove my every decision, pushing me to overwork, overachieve, and constantly seek validation. But even when I achieved my goals, the success didn't feel fulfilling. It was like I was running on a treadmill, always moving, but never getting anywhere. At some point, I realized that this belief was rooted in fear, in fear of being inadequate, in fear of not being enough. And though it had once driven me to accomplish many things, it was no longer serving me. It was keeping me trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and overexertion. One day, after a long period of burnout, I had an epiphany. What if I could let go of the need to prove my worth through constant action? What if I could just trust that I am enough, as I am? It was a moment of deep clarity, and from that moment on, I began to slowly release this limiting belief. The process was not easy, but each step forward felt like I was shedding a layer of false identity, uncovering a more authentic version of myself beneath it. Have you ever experienced something similar? Holding on to a belief that you didn't even realize was weighing you down. Letting go of something like this can feel like a relief. Like taking off a heavy backpack you've been carrying for years. But the first step is acknowledging that it no longer serves you. Many of us go through life holding on to beliefs without ever questioning them. We inherit these beliefs from our families, cultures, and experiences, but we rarely stop to ask ourselves if they are truly ours. Do you really believe that you're not good enough? Do you truly believe that you have to work yourself to the bone to deserve happiness? This is where true healing begins, in questioning the beliefs that shape our lives. When I started asking myself, is this belief true? Is it serving me? I began to see how many of my beliefs were based on fear or outdated ideas. I had spent years unknowingly limiting my own potential because I was holding on to beliefs that didn't reflect who I truly was or what I wanted to become. It can be hard to let go of a belief, especially when you've held on to it for so long. But remember, just because you've believed something for a long time doesn't mean it's true. Your beliefs are not fixed, they are constantly evolving, and you have the power to change them. The process of releasing limiting beliefs starts with awareness. Start noticing the stories you tell yourself, the ones that keep you small, scared, or stuck. What are you telling yourself about your worth? Your ability to succeed? Your right to happiness? Challenge these beliefs. Ask yourself where they came from and whether they still hold truth for you. Letting go doesn't happen overnight. It's a process that requires patience, self-compassion, and trust. And while it's tempting to think that we can just snap out of limiting beliefs or unhealthy attachments, the truth is that letting go often requires us to sit with the discomfort first. One of the most important lessons I learned was that letting go doesn't mean erasing everything from your life, it means choosing to release what no longer aligns with your true self. It means making space for new energy, new opportunities, and new ways of being. It's about surrendering to the flow of life and trusting that what is meant for you will come when the time is right. I remember that when I began to let go of my need for external validation, I felt a deep sense of vulnerability. I wasn't sure who I was without the constant need for approval. But over time, I realized that by letting go, I was making room for a truer version of myself to emerge. And that version of me, free from the limitations of fear and self-doubt, was more empowered, more authentic, and more aligned with my purpose. If you're struggling to let go, I encourage you to be gentle with yourself. Letting go isn't about being perfect or instantly releasing everything. It's about taking small, intentional steps towards freedom. It's about recognizing that your true self doesn't need to hold on to anything that isn't meant for you. A crucial part of releasing what no longer serves you is forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing the wrongs that may have been done to you, it means freeing yourself from the emotional burden of holding on to resentment, anger, or hurt. It's about releasing the past so that you can step into the present, fully alive and open to new possibilities. Forgiveness is not just for others, it's also for yourself. We often hold on to guilt or shame from past mistakes, believing that they define us. But when you forgive yourself, you give yourself permission to release the weight of those old stories and to create a new, more empowered narrative. Forgiveness, both for yourself and for others, is one of the most powerful ways to heal and let go. It clears the emotional clutter and opens up space for new growth. The lesson in this chapter is simple, yet profound. To heal, you must let go of what no longer serves you. Whether it's limiting beliefs, unhealthy attachments, or past experiences that weigh you down, Healing begins when you release the things that no longer align with your highest self. So, I ask you, what is it in your life that you need to let go of? What beliefs or attachments are you holding on to that are keeping you stuck? Letting go may be difficult, but it is also the gateway to transformation. When you make space by releasing what no longer serves you, you invite new opportunities, new experiences, and new ways of being into your life. If this chapter resonated with you, I invite you to take a moment to reflect on what you're ready to release. Is there a belief you're ready to let go of? A relationship that's no longer serving you? Or perhaps an old version of yourself that no longer fits who you are today? Take a deep breath, and allow yourself to imagine what it would feel like to release these things. Feel the weight lifting from your shoulders. Write down anything that comes to mind and set an intention to begin letting go, gently, but intentionally. Have you ever found yourself struggling against the current of life, trying to control every outcome, only to realize that the more you resist, the harder it gets? It's a natural instinct to want to control the direction of our lives. We make plans, set goals, and try to predict the future. And when things don't go as expected, it's easy to feel frustrated, anxious, or even defeated. But what if I told you that the secret to peace and growth lies not in trying to control everything, but in learning to trust and surrender to life's flow? Let me take you back to a time in my life when I was desperately trying to control everything. It was during a period when everything seemed to be falling apart. My career was in a rut, relationships felt strained, and I had lost touch with my sense of purpose. In a desperate attempt to fix things, I pushed harder. I controlled the narrative, obsessed over every decision, and tried to force outcomes. But no matter how much effort I put in, nothing seemed to work. The more I tried to control, the more chaotic and disconnected life felt. It wasn't until I hit a wall, emotionally, physically, and mentally, that I finally admitted something profound: I couldn't keep fighting against life. The more I resisted, the more I felt stuck. That's when I learned one of the most important lessons of my life: life doesn't need to be controlled, it needs to be trusted. And true transformation begins when you learn to surrender to the flow of life. If you've ever felt like you needed to control every aspect of your life, you're not alone. The need for control often stems from fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough. It feels safer to hold the reins tightly, to make sure everything goes according to plan. But the truth is, the more we try to control life, the more we distance ourselves from the deeper flow of the universe. The illusion of control can be seen in all areas of our lives, in our careers, in our relationships, and even in our own personal growth. We think that if we do everything right and follow the correct steps, we will be able to predict or dictate the outcome. But life has a way of throwing curveballs, teaching us that there's so much more at play than our limited understanding can grasp. For years, I lived under the false belief that if I worked hard enough, planned meticulously enough, and made every choice with precision, I could control the outcome. But I was missing something vital: the ability to flow with life's rhythm, to trust that not everything needs to be planned or fixed. Have you ever felt the tension of trying to control something that's simply beyond your power? Whether it's a job, a relationship, or a personal challenge, trying to control something that is fluid and unpredictable only leads to stress and frustration. The more I fought against the natural course of events, the more difficult and painful things became. One of the most liberating things you can do on your healing journey is to begin trusting life's timing. We often become impatient, thinking that we should have reached certain milestones or achieved specific goals by now. But the truth is, life has its own timing, and sometimes the most important lessons and blessings come when we least expect them. I used to think that I had to make things happen, that if I wasn't constantly pushing forward, I would fall behind. But what I discovered is that true growth doesn't always happen in a linear, controlled fashion. Sometimes, things need to unfold at their own pace. We don't always get to control when or how the healing process occurs, but we can choose to trust that it's happening, even when we don't see the results immediately. During a particularly tough time in my life, I had to trust that the universe had a plan for me, even if I couldn't see it yet. I had to trust that the things I was working through, the struggles I was facing, were all part of my journey, and that they were happening for a reason, even if I didn't understand why at the time. Trusting life's timing requires patience and faith. It means believing that everything is unfolding as it should, even if it doesn't look the way you expected. When you let go of the need to control everything, you open yourself up to life's natural flow, and that's when the magic begins to happen. Surrender isn't about giving up, it's about letting go of the need to control and trusting that life will guide you to where you need to be. It's about acknowledging that you don't have all the answers, and that's okay. Surrender is the act of releasing your tight grip on life and allowing things to unfold in a way that's aligned with your highest good. I remember a moment of deep surrender on my journey when I realized I had no idea what the next step would be in my life. I was scared of failure, scared of uncertainty. But instead of continuing to fight against the unknown, I decided to surrender. I took a deep breath, released my fears, and trusted that the next step would come when the time was right. It wasn't easy, but it was one of the most powerful moments of my life. Surrendering means letting go of the story you've been telling yourself about what you think should happen and being open to what actually is happening. It's trusting that you are being guided, even when the path isn't clear. This doesn't mean passivity or inaction. It means that you're still taking aligned steps toward your goals, but you're not forcing outcomes. You trust that the universe will provide what you need when you need it. One of the most important aspects of surrender is learning to trust yourself. When we struggle to let go of control, it's often because we don't trust ourselves to handle whatever comes next. We fear that if we stop managing every detail, we'll fall apart. But the truth is, you are more capable than you think. You have within you the wisdom, strength, and resilience to navigate whatever life throws your way. By learning to trust yourself, you embrace the truth that you are more than enough. You don't need to manipulate or control every situation, you simply need to show up, listen to your inner guidance, and take inspired action. The more I learned to trust myself, the more empowered I became. I realized that I could trust my intuition to guide me in the right direction, even when I didn't know the full picture. And the more I surrendered to life's flow, the more doors opened, and the clearer my path became. The lesson in this chapter is this: healing and growth require trust and surrender. When you release the need to control and allow life to guide you, you open yourself up to infinite possibilities. Trust that everything is happening in divine timing, and that you are always supported, even when you can't see the bigger picture. So, I ask you, what would happen if you stopped trying to control every outcome? What if you trusted that life is unfolding exactly as it should, and that you are being guided every step of the way? The power of surrender is a gateway to freedom. It's a reminder that you don't have to do everything alone, and that there's a bigger plan at work. When you trust life, life will trust you in return. If this message resonates with you, I encourage you to practice surrender in a small way today. Let go of the need to control one area of your life, whether it's your career, a relationship, or a personal goal. Trust that by releasing control, you are creating space for something greater to enter your life. Take a deep breath, and let go. Trust that the universe has your back. Have you ever felt like you're wearing a mask, playing a role that isn't truly you? You know deep down that you're meant for something more, something deeper, but you're not sure how to step into it. For most of us, the path to healing and personal growth involves shedding the layers of who we think we are, or who we were told we should be. Over time, we accumulate beliefs, habits, and identities that don't actually belong to us. We begin to live in alignment with what society, family, or culture expects of us, rather than who we are at our core. But what if, in this moment, you could step into your authentic self, the person you were always meant to be? Embracing your authentic self is one of the most liberating experiences you can have. It's about letting go of the masks, the personas, and the walls you've built, and reconnecting with the truth of who you are. And let me tell you, it's not always easy. It requires vulnerability, courage, and a willingness to face parts of yourself that you've hidden away for years. I've walked this path myself. For much of my life, I was someone else, someone I thought I was supposed to be. I wore a mask that told the world I had it all together. On the outside, I looked successful, confident, and in control. But inside, I felt disconnected, lost, and unsure of who I really was. I had become so good at playing the role of someone else that I didn't know how to find my way back to my true self. But then, something shifted. I realized that in order to truly heal, I had to stop pretending. I had to stop performing, stop trying to fit into the mold others had created for me. I had to allow myself to be imperfect, messy, and, most importantly, real. I remember the moment I started to question everything. It wasn't dramatic at first, but over time, it became clear that I wasn't being authentic. I was trying to meet everyone else's expectations, but in doing so, I had lost touch with my own heart. I started asking myself, what do I really want? What do I truly believe? Who am I, when no one is watching? At first, the answers didn't come easily. It felt uncomfortable to question the very beliefs and habits that had shaped my life for so long. But as I continued to explore my true desires, something incredible happened. I started to feel a sense of alignment. My actions, thoughts, and feelings began to flow in a way that felt more natural, more effortless. Self-discovery is a continuous journey, and it's one that requires patience. It's not about finding one definitive answer to the question of who you are. It's about uncovering the layers and discovering what lies beneath. It's about peeling back the stories you've been told and finding the truth that has always been there, waiting for you. Have you ever wondered who you really are beneath the surface? What are the things that light you up, that make you feel alive? These are the keys to discovering your authentic self. Don't be afraid to go deep. Your true essence is there, waiting for you to embrace it. One of the most powerful ways to step into your authentic self is by embracing vulnerability. I know that vulnerability can feel terrifying, especially in a world that often values strength and perfection. But vulnerability is the gateway to true connection with yourself and others. It's in the moments of openness, honesty, and rawness that we uncover our deepest truths. For so long, I hid behind a mask of confidence and self-assurance. I thought that showing any weakness or uncertainty would make me appear less capable. But over time, I realized that my true strength lay in my vulnerability. When I allowed myself to be open, to admit that I didn't have all the answers, I found freedom. I no longer needed to prove myself, because I was finally being myself. Vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It takes courage to reveal your true self to the world, to show up without pretending, without hiding parts of yourself. But when you embrace vulnerability, you invite deeper connections, both with others and with yourself. You allow yourself to be seen, heard, and loved for who you truly are. If you're ready to step into your authentic self, I encourage you to practice vulnerability in small ways. Start by showing up as you are, no masks, no pretenses. Allow yourself to express your true feelings, even if they're messy or imperfect. The more you do this, the more natural it will become to live authentically. In order to embrace your authentic self, you must first accept yourself, flaws, quirks, imperfections, and all. Self-acceptance is not about becoming perfect, it's about loving yourself just as you are, right now. It's about acknowledging your strengths and weaknesses without judgment, and realizing that you are worthy of love and respect, no matter what. For so long, I struggled with self-acceptance. I thought that I had to change parts of myself in order to be good enough. I compared myself to others, thinking they had it all together, while I felt broken. But through my journey, I learned that self-acceptance isn't about perfection. It's about embracing who you are, right here, right now, without the need to be anything more. You don't need to be perfect to be worthy of love. You are already whole, just as you are. And once you accept yourself, you unlock a sense of peace and freedom that cannot be found in external validation. When you accept yourself fully, you begin to live from a place of inner strength, knowing that you are enough, regardless of what others think or expect from you. Take a moment to ask yourself, what parts of myself have I been hiding or rejecting? What would it feel like to accept myself fully, as I am, right now? Living authentically doesn't mean isolating yourself from others or rejecting society's expectations altogether. It means making choices that align with your true self, rather than trying to please everyone else. It means being clear about your values, your desires, and your boundaries, and having the courage to honor them. For example, living authentically might mean leaving a job that no longer fulfills you, even though it's safe or socially acceptable. It might mean expressing your true feelings in a relationship, even if it feels vulnerable. It might mean setting boundaries with people who drain your energy, even though they may not understand. It's about living from a place of integrity, where your actions align with your inner truth. It's about letting go of the need for approval and choosing to honor your own path, even if it means stepping outside of the norm. The world needs your authentic self. Your unique gifts, your perspective, your energy. These are the things that make you truly special. Don't hide them. Don't shrink to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. Step into your true power, and let your authenticity shine. The lesson of this chapter is clear: embracing your authentic self is the key to living a life of fulfillment, joy, and alignment. You were not meant to live according to someone else's script, you were meant to live as the fullest version of yourself. When you step into your authenticity, you step into your true power. So, I ask you, what parts of yourself have you been hiding? What would it feel like to step into your true power, unapologetically? Your journey to authenticity starts with one simple choice: to show up as you are, without pretenses, without masks. When you do, you'll discover a life that is richer, deeper, and more meaningful than you ever imagined. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to take a small step toward embracing your authentic self today. Identify one area of your life where you've been pretending or holding back, and give yourself permission to show up as you truly are. Whether it's in your relationships, your career, or with yourself, start living from a place of authenticity. Have you ever struggled to truly love yourself? Have you found it easier to extend compassion to others, but when it comes to yourself, you fall short? Self-love is one of the most powerful forces of healing and transformation. But it is often misunderstood. Many of us think we need to earn love or that we have to be perfect before we can love ourselves. We extend kindness, understanding, and patience to others, but when it comes to ourselves, we are harsh, critical, and unforgiving. How many times have you caught yourself thinking that you're not enough, or that you don't deserve happiness and peace? If this resonates with you, take a moment to pause and reflect. Why do you find it so much harder to love yourself than others? I've been there. For a long time, I didn't truly understand what self-love meant. I thought self-love was about pampering myself with treats, or only celebrating the moments when I felt successful. But I discovered that self-love goes much deeper than that. It's not about perfecting yourself, fixing your flaws, or achieving something. It's about accepting yourself as you are, right now. It's about treating yourself with the same kindness, patience, and understanding that you give to others. It wasn't until I started on my journey of healing that I realized the true power of self-love. Self-love is the foundation of everything. It's the root from which all other aspects of your life, relationships, career, health, and happiness, grow. Without self-love, everything else feels unstable, shaky, and ungrounded. You can't give from an empty cup. And when you don't love yourself, you're constantly running on empty, looking for validation, love, and approval from external sources. But when you learn to love yourself, something magical happens. You stop looking outside for validation. You begin to honor your worth and your unique path. You start to make choices that align with your true needs, desires, and boundaries, rather than those of others. Many of us struggle with self-love because we've been conditioned to criticize ourselves. From a young age, we are often taught to focus on our shortcomings, to strive for perfection, and to be our own harshest critics. We live in a world where external achievements are valued above all else, and if we don't measure up, we believe that we're not good enough. I, too, was caught in this cycle of self-criticism. I was constantly focused on what I could improve, what I wasn't doing right, and how I could be better. I would beat myself up over mistakes, flaws, or things that didn't go the way I had hoped. And in doing so, I robbed myself of the opportunity to simply be. I forgot to be compassionate with myself, to recognize that I was human, and that being imperfect was okay. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, if only I were more confident, more successful, more accomplished, I would love myself more? This belief is at the heart of the struggle with self-love. We think that we must achieve something before we can accept ourselves fully. But the truth is, self-love begins now. It's not something you earn through accomplishments. It's something you give yourself freely. One of the most powerful tools for cultivating self-love is practicing self-compassion. Self-compassion means treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a dear friend. When you're struggling, instead of criticizing yourself, you offer yourself comfort and support. When you make a mistake, instead of berating yourself, you acknowledge your humanity and extend grace. This was a game changer for me. I had to teach myself how to be compassionate with myself. When I failed, I stopped saying things like, "I'm such a failure," or "I'm not good enough." Instead, I would remind myself, this is part of the journey. I'm learning, and I'm growing. I would offer myself love and encouragement, just as I would to someone I cared about deeply. The practice of self-compassion is about understanding that you are not perfect, but that doesn't make you any less worthy of love. It's about embracing your flaws and mistakes with kindness and empathy, rather than judgment and shame. Self-love is truly transformative. It heals the wounds of the past and helps you release the patterns of self-doubt and self-criticism that have held you back for so long. When you love yourself, you stop feeling the need to prove your worth. You stop seeking validation from others and start to create a deep sense of inner peace. One of the most profound things I've learned on my journey is that when I love myself, I show up in the world with more authenticity and confidence. The more I accepted myself, flaws, imperfections, and all, the more empowered I became. I started to take risks, to pursue my dreams without fear of judgment, and to create boundaries that honored my needs. Healing through self-love doesn't mean you never experience pain or difficulty. It doesn't mean that you become perfect or immune to challenges. What it does mean is that you develop the resilience, compassion, and strength to navigate life's ups and downs without losing yourself along the way. You have an unshakable foundation of love that supports you through it all. A key aspect of self-love is learning to set healthy boundaries. Boundaries are not about building walls or pushing people away, they're about respecting yourself and your needs. When you love yourself, you honor your own limits and say, no, when something doesn't feel right, even if it's difficult. For a long time, I didn't set boundaries. I thought that saying, no, would make me selfish or unkind. But what I learned is that saying, no, to things that drain me or don't align with my values is actually an act of self-love. Boundaries help protect your energy and create space for what truly matters in your life. Setting boundaries can be uncomfortable at first, especially if you've been a people pleaser or have struggled with saying no. But as you begin to practice self-love, you'll find that the more you honor your boundaries, the more your relationships and life in general will become healthier and more fulfilling. Self-love is a daily practice. It's not something you do once and then forget about. It's something you nurture and cultivate every day. Simple acts of self-love can include things like speaking kindly to yourself and replacing self-criticism with affirmations of love and acceptance. Taking time for self-care, whether it's through meditation, a relaxing bath, or simply resting when you need it. Saying no to things that drain you and yes to things that nourish you. Practicing forgiveness, both for yourself and others. Allowing yourself to feel your emotions without judgment, knowing that every feeling is valid and part of your healing process. The more you practice self-love, the more it becomes a natural part of who you are. It shifts your entire mindset from one of scarcity and self-doubt to one of abundance and self-empowerment. The key lesson in this chapter is that self-love is the foundation of everything. When you love yourself, you create a life that is rooted in authenticity, peace, and joy. Self-love is not about perfection, it's about acceptance. It's about treating yourself with kindness, compassion, and grace, no matter what. It's about recognizing that you are enough, exactly as you are. So, I ask you, how can you practice self-love today? What's one way you can extend compassion to yourself, even in a small way? You are worthy of love. You always have been, and you always will be. The more you love yourself, the more you will open the door to a life of healing, transformation, and true happiness. If this message resonates with you, I encourage you to take a moment and reflect on how you can show yourself more love and compassion today. Maybe it's forgiving yourself for a past mistake, or setting a boundary in a relationship. Maybe it's simply saying, "I am enough," and believing it. Have you ever carried the weight of resentment or anger for far too long? Have you found it difficult to forgive someone, or even yourself, for a past hurt? Forgiveness is one of the most transformative and healing practices you can embrace. It's often misunderstood as something we do for others, but in reality, forgiveness is a gift we give to ourselves. The act of forgiveness has the power to free us from the emotional chains of the past, allowing us to move forward with greater peace, clarity, and joy. I know from experience how hard it can be to forgive, especially when the hurt feels deep or the betrayal seems unforgivable. But what I've learned along my journey is this: holding on to anger and resentment only weighs you down. It keeps you anchored to the past, and it prevents you from stepping into the fullness of your life. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing the wrong that was done to you or saying that it's okay. It means releasing the emotional grip that it has on you, so you can heal and move on. If this resonates with you, take a moment to reflect: who or what are you still holding on to? What past hurt or betrayal is keeping you stuck in pain and bitterness? Forgiveness is not about condoning the actions of others, it's about freeing yourself from the toxic grip of past hurts. Holding on to anger, resentment, or regret keeps you tied to negative energy, and it eats away at your well-being. These emotions, while valid, do not serve you in the long term. They drain your energy, cloud your clarity, and make it difficult to live fully in the present moment. In my own life, I carried the weight of unforgiven pain for years. There were moments when I felt justified in holding on to my anger, convinced that by holding on to it, I was somehow protecting myself. But the reality was that my anger only consumed me. It kept me stuck in a cycle of bitterness, and I could never move forward as long as I clung to it. Forgiveness is a powerful tool for reclaiming your peace. It's not about forgetting what happened, but about choosing to release the emotional hold that it has over you. It's about breaking free from the story that says, you are defined by what was done to you. When you forgive, you step out of the past and into the present, where you can begin to heal and create a future free from the shadows of old wounds. Forgiveness doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and it can be a painful one. It involves confronting the hurt, acknowledging the pain, and allowing yourself to feel the full weight of the emotions that arise. Only when you fully face the hurt can you begin to release it. For me, forgiveness wasn't a single moment of letting go. It was a series of small steps, each one bringing me closer to peace. I had to look at the people who had wronged me, the situations that had scarred me, and the ways I had hurt myself through self-criticism and regret. I had to admit that I wasn't ready to forgive at first. It took time to soften my heart and let go of the belief that my anger was protecting me. But as I took those steps, I felt lighter. The emotional burden started to lift, and I realized that I was no longer bound to the past. Forgiveness gave me the freedom to be present, to move forward with renewed energy and purpose. One of the hardest aspects of forgiveness is letting go of resentment toward others. Whether it's a betrayal, a broken relationship, or a perceived injustice, the pain can feel like a weight you carry with you everywhere. We might tell ourselves, if I forgive them, I'll be letting them off the hook. But the truth is, forgiveness doesn't mean you're excusing their behavior. It means you're no longer allowing their actions to control your emotions or your future. Forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself, not the other person. When you hold on to resentment, you allow someone else's actions to continue affecting you, even long after the event. By forgiving, you release that hold and take back your power. I had to learn this lesson the hard way. I held on to resentment for a long time, thinking that by holding on to my anger, I was somehow punishing the person who hurt me. But the only person I was hurting was myself. When I finally chose to forgive, I felt an incredible release. The weight I had been carrying was gone, and I no longer let that person or situation dictate my peace. You don't have to forgive for the other person's sake, you forgive because you deserve peace, and you deserve to be free. You deserve to stop carrying the burden of someone else's actions. Self-forgiveness is just as important, if not more so, than forgiving others. Often, we are our own worst critics. We carry guilt, shame, and regret for the mistakes we've made, the opportunities we've missed, or the ways we've hurt ourselves. We think, if I could just do better, if I could just be better, then I could forgive myself. But self-forgiveness begins with the acceptance that you are human. You are allowed to make mistakes. You are allowed to fall short at times. I've struggled with self-forgiveness many times in my life. There were periods where I couldn't let go of the guilt for things I had done, or worse, for things I hadn't done. But through my healing journey, I realized that holding on to guilt wasn't helping me become a better person. It was only keeping me stuck in the past. Self-forgiveness is about embracing your imperfections and learning to accept that you did the best you could with the knowledge and resources you had at the time. When you forgive yourself, you allow yourself the space to grow, to learn, and to move forward with a lighter heart. Take a moment to reflect. What are you still holding on to from your past? What mistakes, regrets, or guilt are you carrying? How would it feel to forgive yourself and release that burden? Forgiveness is a conscious choice, and it often requires intentional steps. Here are a few steps that helped me on my journey of forgiveness. 1. Acknowledge the hurt. The first step is to recognize and fully feel the pain caused by the situation or person. Only by acknowledging it can you begin to heal. 2. Release the need for revenge or justice. Let go of the desire for the other person to pay for what they did. Holding on to this need keeps you tied to the past. Accept that the past cannot be changed. 3. Choose to forgive. This is a decision you make for yourself, not the other person. It's saying, I'm ready to let go of the emotional grip that this situation has on me. 4. Feel the emotional release. Forgiveness is an emotional process. Allow yourself to feel the relief and the lightness that comes with letting go. 5. Commit to moving forward. Forgiveness doesn't mean you forget. It means you stop letting the past control your present and future. You can now create new memories and new experiences, free from the emotional weight of the past. The lesson of this chapter is clear: forgiveness is the key to freedom. By forgiving others and yourself, you break the chains that bind you to the past. You release the emotional wounds and make space for healing and peace. Forgiveness is not about excusing or forgetting, it's about letting go of the power that past hurts have over you. I invite you to ask yourself, who or what do you need to forgive in your life right now? What would it feel like to finally release the past and move forward with a light heart? Forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. It's not about them, it's about you. When you forgive, you set yourself free. If you're ready to begin your journey of forgiveness, I encourage you to take a step today. Identify one person or one part of yourself that you are still holding on to. Commit to the process of forgiving, even if it feels difficult or uncomfortable. It's not about perfecting the process, it's about beginning it. Have you ever paused for a moment and truly felt grateful for the small things in life? Or perhaps, have you ever found it hard to appreciate what you already have, because you're so focused on what you don't yet have? Gratitude is one of the most transformative forces in the universe. It has the power to shift your mindset, open your heart, and bring healing in ways that words can barely describe. But too often, we overlook the simple, profound impact gratitude can have on our lives. Instead, we're caught up in the chase for more success, more material wealth, more recognition, without ever pausing to appreciate what we already have. But here's the truth, gratitude is the gateway to abundance. When you begin to truly appreciate the blessings in your life, no matter how small, you open the door to more. More peace, more joy, more opportunities, and more healing. It's through gratitude that we manifest what we desire, because gratitude aligns us with the energy of abundance. If this resonates with you, take a deep breath and pause for a moment. What are you grateful for right now, in this very moment? Gratitude is not just a nice feeling, it's backed by science. Studies have shown that when we focus on what we're thankful for, our brain releases dopamine and serotonin, two of the feel-good chemicals that make us feel happier, more fulfilled, and at peace. Essentially, practicing gratitude is like a mental and emotional workout. It rewires your brain to focus on the positive, rather than the negative. When you practice gratitude regularly, you begin to train your mind to notice the beauty in your life, even on your toughest days. Gratitude shifts your perspective. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by what's missing, you start to notice how much you already have. It's a mindset shift from lack to abundance, and it changes everything. I remember a time in my life when I felt like nothing was going right. I was stuck in a cycle of self-doubt and frustration, always focusing on what I didn't have: more time, more money, more success. But everything changed when I started a gratitude practice. Every morning, I would write down 3 things I was grateful for. At first, it was hard. It felt like I was forcing myself to find things to be thankful for. But over time, I began to see my life in a different light. I realized how many blessings I had been overlooking. This practice wasn't just about being thankful for the big things, like my health or my family. It was about appreciating the little things, like the warmth of the sun on my skin, the sound of birds chirping in the morning, or the simple act of breathing deeply. As I practiced gratitude, my life began to shift. I felt lighter, more hopeful, and more connected to my purpose. Gratitude and manifestation go hand in hand. In fact, gratitude is one of the most powerful tools for manifesting what you desire in life. When you are truly thankful for what you already have, you raise your vibrational frequency and align yourself with the energy of abundance. This energy attracts more of the same into your life. I've seen this principle work time and time again in my own life. When I began to genuinely appreciate the small blessings, the universe responded by sending more opportunities my way. My relationships improved. My career flourished. I found myself surrounded by people who were supportive and uplifting. It was as if the energy of gratitude acted as a magnet, pulling more of what I wanted into my life. Manifestation is not about wishing for things to fall into your lap, it's about aligning your thoughts, emotions, and actions with the frequency of what you want to bring into your life. And one of the easiest ways to do this is through gratitude. When you are grateful for what you have, you send a signal to the universe that you are ready to receive more. So, I ask you, what would it look like if you started each day by being thankful for what you already have? Imagine how that small shift could change your energy and your ability to manifest your dreams. Gratitude is not just a tool for manifestation, it's also an incredibly powerful force for healing. When we focus on the things we're grateful for, we begin to shift our focus away from our pain, our wounds, and our fears. This shift in focus helps us heal on a deep emotional level. Have you ever noticed that when you're feeling down or frustrated, it's easy to get stuck in a cycle of negativity? You may start to focus on what's wrong with your life, which only compounds the feeling of hopelessness. But when you consciously choose to focus on gratitude, you break the cycle. You begin to shift your energy from lack to abundance, from fear to love, and from pain to peace. I remember a time when I was going through a personal crisis. I was consumed with worry and doubt. But when I started practicing gratitude, I felt a sense of relief. I realized that I didn't need to have everything figured out to feel whole. I had so much to be thankful for, and that gratitude helped me heal. It softened my heart and allowed me to release the stress and anxiety that had been weighing me down. In moments of emotional pain, practicing gratitude can be the key to finding inner peace. It doesn't mean you have to ignore your feelings or pretend everything is okay. It means that, even in the midst of hardship, you choose to acknowledge the blessings in your life and find peace in the present moment. If you're ready to begin incorporating gratitude into your life, here are a few simple ways to start. 1. Gratitude journaling. Each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. It could be something big, like your health or a job opportunity, or something small, like a warm cup of coffee or a kind word from a friend. 2. Gratitude affirmations. Throughout the day, repeat affirmations of gratitude, such as, I am grateful for the abundance in my life. I am grateful for my health. I am grateful for the love that surrounds me. 3. Gratitude meditation. Spend a few minutes in meditation, focusing on the things you are grateful for. As you breathe, visualize the blessings in your life and feel the gratitude in your heart. 4. Express gratitude to others. Take a moment to express gratitude to the people in your life. Send a text or make a phone call to thank someone for their support, love, or kindness. 5. Gratitude rituals. Create a daily or weekly ritual to acknowledge and celebrate the things you are grateful for. It could be lighting a candle and saying a prayer of thanks, or simply pausing in the middle of your day to reflect on your blessings. The key lesson of this chapter is that gratitude is a transformative practice that can change your life in profound ways. By focusing on what you already have, you shift your energy and your mindset to one of abundance. Gratitude opens the door to healing, growth, and manifestation. I encourage you to ask yourself, what would it feel like to start your day with gratitude? What could shift in your life if you made gratitude a consistent practice? When you embrace gratitude, you unlock the power to heal, to manifest your dreams, and to experience life with a deeper sense of peace and joy. If you're ready to bring more gratitude into your life, start today. Take a moment to reflect on what you're thankful for, and begin to shift your focus toward the blessings that already exist in your life. This small shift can change everything. Have you ever felt like you're holding on too tightly to something in your life, whether it's a relationship, a career, or even a specific outcome? What if the key to finding peace and alignment was not in trying harder, but in letting go? Surrendering. It's one of the most difficult yet powerful spiritual practices. In a world where we're often taught to control, strive, and fight for what we want, the idea of surrendering can feel counterintuitive, almost like giving up. But surrender is not about weakness, it's about trust. It's about releasing the need to control every detail of your life and trusting that the universe, or your higher self, has a bigger plan in store for you. Throughout my own journey, I've struggled with letting go. I wanted to hold on to things, people, and situations that I thought were necessary for my happiness. I thought I could control the outcome of everything, if I worked hard enough, if I planned everything perfectly, if I stayed in control. But the truth is, the tighter we hold on to something, the more we restrict the flow of abundance, healing, and joy into our lives. If this resonates with you, take a moment to reflect. What are you still trying to control in your life? And what would it feel like to let go, even just a little? Surrendering is not about giving up on your dreams or desires. It's about giving up on the idea that you have to control how or when those dreams come to fruition. When we hold on too tightly to a specific outcome, we are resisting the natural flow of life. We are telling the universe, I know best. But what if, instead, you could say, I trust that what is meant for me will come to me at the right time, in the right way. In my own experience, surrender has been a practice of trust. There were times in my life when I held on to things out of fear of not being good enough, fear of failure, fear of the unknown. I would work myself to the bone, trying to control every aspect of my life. But eventually, I learned that the more I tried to control, the more I created stress and resistance. The key to surrender is learning to relax into the flow of life. It's about trusting that everything is unfolding as it should, even if it doesn't look the way you expected. Life has a way of surprising us, and when we let go of rigid expectations, we make space for the magic of the unknown to enter our lives. I've spent a lot of time reflecting on why we struggle so much with surrender. Why do we hold on so tightly? For me, it came down to fear. Fear of losing control, fear of what might happen if I let go, and fear of the unknown. But what I eventually realized was that trying to control everything was exhausting. It drained my energy, clouded my clarity, and kept me stuck in a cycle of resistance. There's a deep inner peace that comes when we let go of the need to control. When you surrender, you free yourself from the constant battle of trying to make things happen. Instead, you allow life to unfold in its own time, trusting that the right opportunities, people, and experiences will come your way when you're aligned with them. I recall a time when I was faced with a decision about my career. I had invested so much energy into one path that it felt impossible to imagine any other way. I was stuck in the shoulds. I should do this. I should make this decision. I should take this opportunity. But none of it felt right. The pressure to make a choice was overwhelming. Finally, I reached a point where I had to ask myself, what if I just let go? That's when everything shifted. I stopped pushing, and I simply allowed myself to relax. I began to follow my intuition rather than logic, and I let go of the need to control every step. It was one of the most liberating decisions I've ever made. The moment I stopped trying to force things into place, life began to flow. Opportunities came from unexpected places, and things started to fall into place without effort. One of the most powerful aspects of surrender is its ability to bring us into the present moment. When we're not focused on controlling the future or trying to fix the past, we can simply be here, in the now. Surrender invites us to let go of worry, fear, and regret, and to experience life as it is, beautiful, messy, and full of possibility. When you stop trying to control every outcome, you become more present. You become more attuned to the synchronicities that guide you. You stop seeing obstacles and start seeing opportunities for growth and learning. For example, I used to be someone who constantly planned. I had a detailed vision for every aspect of my life, what I would be doing in 5 years, where I would be living, how I would get there. But when life didn't go according to plan, I became frustrated. It wasn't until I learned to surrender that I realized how rigid my expectations were. The universe had a better plan than I could have imagined, but I was too busy trying to control everything to see it. Surrendering to the present moment allows you to step into a deeper state of awareness, where you can find peace even amidst the chaos. You stop fighting against life, and instead, you flow with it. Trust is a key component of surrender. When you surrender, you're essentially saying, I trust that everything is unfolding for my highest good, even if I don't understand it right now. Trust is the foundation of true surrender, and without it, we remain stuck in our fear and resistance. I know how hard it can be to trust, especially when things feel uncertain or out of control. But I've learned that trust is not something you do once and then forget about, it's a practice. It's a daily choice to release the need to micromanage every aspect of your life and to lean into the flow of the universe. When you trust the process, you open yourself to greater peace. You stop forcing things, and you start allowing. You give yourself permission to step back, take a breath, and let life unfold in its own time. The lesson of this chapter is clear: surrender is the key to peace, trust, and alignment. When you stop trying to control every aspect of your life, you allow space for the universe to work its magic. Surrender is not about giving up, it's about giving in to the flow of life. It's about trusting that everything is unfolding as it should, even if it doesn't look the way you thought it would. Ask yourself, what would it feel like to release control and trust that everything is working out for your highest good? What would it feel like to surrender to the present moment and let go of the need to have it all figured out? The act of surrender is a powerful practice of trust. It is the key to receiving more peace, more clarity, and more of what you truly desire. If you're ready to embrace surrender, I encourage you to start by letting go of one thing you've been trying to control. It could be a relationship, a job situation, or a specific outcome. Simply release it and trust that whatever is meant for you will find its way to you. The more you practice surrender, the more you will align with your true self and your soul's purpose.